This is Koons Ford Terp Talk with Bruce Posner. 60 minutes of Maryland athletics and your phone calls at 410-481-1300. Now, here's Bruce Posner and Terp Talk.
Welcome in. March Madness starts tomorrow without the University of Maryland, but what the heck, it's still, I can't wait for it. I can't wait for all the games, for all the stars. We'll go over some of the stars later on. Right now, we're going to discuss all things University of Maryland basketball with my good buddy and the March Madness, of course, Scott Greene from Rivals.com. Scott, how are you today, my friend?
I'm good, Bruce. How you doing?
Listen, doing fine. UVA, DeAndre Hunter, 6'7" guard, out with a wrist injury, 9 points a game, 3 assists. Is that brutal for them?
Yeah, I mean, Maryland recruited Hunter out of high school, so watched quite a bit of him then, and seen quite a bit of him at the end of this season as well. And, he's a huge part of what they do. He's their sixth man, but he's probably definitely one of their top 5 players. And just the way he's able to rebound, kind of stretch the defense, and, kind of shoot those mid-range jumpers, I think that's a huge, huge loss for them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I picked him to go all the way after watching him last weekend. I just thought that I didn't really watch a lot during the season, but when I got to watch them decimate everybody they played, you got to think the world of them when the job that Tony Bennett has done there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's got a great system. He really is all about defense with that pack line defense they run, and Greene's in those guys. And, I'll be the first to admit, I don't particularly find it the prettiest basketball to watch. But it's effective, and you see what they've done over the last few years, and it's pretty impressive.
Prettiest basketball doesn't matter when you win, and when you're
exactly.
They've been unbelievable. Now, so let's talk about Maryland for a few minutes, and we'll compare brackets and everything like that. Number one, got to ask you, you're a guy in the know. You're on it every moment of the day. Justin Jackson, Bruno Fernando, are they back? Are they not back, or is it up in the air?
Yeah, as far as Justin Jackson goes, towards the end of the year, started hearing a few different things, but just based on what I heard last year and just what I've heard the last couple of days this year, my gut says he probably won't be back. The X factor becomes his shoulder. It's a very tough rehab coming back from this surgery, and from everything I've heard, it's maybe a little bit behind schedule. With that being the case, I'm not sure how he might necessarily be ready for the Combine. And if he's not ready for the Combine, I'm not sure he'd get drafted. So then it becomes an issue of, are they okay with him going to the G League, going overseas? That's something I can't speak for them or for him. So with him, I'm not positive, but I think it's leaning more towards not coming back.
It makes no sense, him not coming back. I mean, right now, how can his stock be high when he hasn't played?
I 100% agree, and I actually talked to a couple scouts yesterday who kind of said the same thing. They said, as far as him being on our radar, they said, we definitely like him a year from now if he comes back and plays like he did as a freshman. But a couple of the teams I talked to yesterday said right now he's pretty much not even on their radar for, this year's draft. But, I think part of it, too, is these kids aren't from America. Maybe they're not comfortable in the States. I don't know, but it seems to be more of a thing with these international kids than maybe kids that are from this area. I feel like that might have a bit to do with it as well.
All right, now we move to Bruno.
Yeah, as far as Bruno goes, I actually talked to a very good source on Bruno yesterday. Turgeon actually had exit interviews with the guys yesterday afternoon. Bruno was one of them. He went into the meeting, still kind of undecided, up in the air as to what he was going to do. And talking to a guy, they think maybe, he might decide to at least test the waters and come back. But I think there's still some things working behind the scenes there where it's uncertain with him. I think it would be more likely that he were to come back than Justin Jackson. But that said, I just feel like it's still kind of up in the air for probably another month or so.
It's funny, if Bruno does come back, you could just imagine if Sticks turns out to be half as good as people expect, and with the other pieces they have coming in, and with Carter and Cowan as juniors, this would be a good team. This would be a definitely good team. If Jackson stays and he's healthy, this could be a great team. But certainly, I just can't. To tell you the truth, if you said to me, who could you see going, I could see Bruno going before Jackson. I can't imagine who would want Jackson at this point.
Like I said, I mean, I'm not sure. As far as the NBA goes, and talking to a few people, unless he's ahead of schedule and just knocks it out of the park at the Combine, folks I talk to don't see him getting drafted. As far as Bruno goes, I think there's definitely a possibility there. But in his case, I think they're still more on the fence as to what he's going to do. But as to what you said, if he comes back, I think getting Justin Jackson back would be a nice luxury. But I think they showed that Morcell can maybe play some on the wing. They got some other guys coming in. Sticks will be able to play some 4-3. But I think Bruno coming back would be the key between next year's team as things stand right now, in a borderline fringe top 25 team and maybe being a top 15, top 10 team. So I think Bruno coming back is the real X factor at this point.
Again, we're talking to Scott Greene from Rivals.com. Scott, in your conversations with Turgeon, and now I've talked to him and I've heard what he said at other times. Do you see a beefing up of the schedule next year?
I mean, from what I've heard, it's not. I can't say that's something I've talked to him specifically about myself.
He's talked about it though. He has.
Yeah, I know he's brought it up in some of the friends of the program meetings and things like that. And I know next year I believe the plan is to not play in the holiday tournament. So you might lose a couple marquee games there. So I mean, if anything, I don't know what their plan is as far as maybe doing a home and home or something like that. Like they did with Oklahoma State a couple years ago. But I mean, from what I've heard so far, outside of the Gavitt games, maybe the Big Ten ACC challenge, it sounds like next year might be less challenging than this year's schedule. But that said, we got to see what happens as far as filling in those last couple games and seeing how challenging they end up being. But I definitely think that's something they need to do. I think they need to beef up the schedule. This year's in particular just wasn't really what you want to see, especially from a team just trying to get into the tournament. I think definitely trying to schedule, a Kansas or, some sort of blue blood maybe as a home and home would be huge.
Yeah, no, I agree. One, not even both 2 games in a year, one this year and one the next year. I would like to see 2 of those games. I'd like to see us play Villanova every year. I don't understand why not, because you lose to Villanova, you lose to Kansas. Does it hurt you? And look at Nebraska. If they didn't play Kansas, and they would have beat Kansas, I guarantee you, and they're in the tournament.
I don't think you have to look any further than Arizona State. I mean, you just look at those early season wins against Kansas and, I can't think of the other one off the top of my head, but they had 2 really big, non-conference wins. And, those wins are basically what got them in the tournament because they just flopped down the stretch. They didn't beat anybody.
Hey, nobody flopped like Oklahoma, all right? And they had some big early wins, and it got them in the tournament. But everybody was still shocked that they made it. They were a disaster at the end of the year. A disaster. But we played a few teams that weren't highly thought of, like St. Bonaventure. Well, all of a sudden, that game doesn't look like much of an upset, does it?
No, and I mean, I think a lot of people knew that St. Bonaventure was going to be a good game for Maryland going in. But that said, then you got to look at the fact, too, that they were without Jalen Adams, their leading scorer. So, it's just all kind of how you look at it. And these days, the selection committee looks at those things, who played when and who didn't. So that all kind of factors into it as well.
Well, I'm not going to go away from my pick of UVA, but Arizona is looking a little bit better right now with Mr. Honesty, Sean Miller, and his number one $100,000 quote unquote
DeAndre Ayton.
He's the best player in the country, isn't he? Number 1 in the NBA draft, or am I wrong?
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. I'll tell you just a quick story. But I saw him in high school at the Under Armour All-American camp a few years ago, and his teammates, other All-American type players, complained about how they didn't think he had a very good work ethic and they didn't like playing with him. And it's something I definitely saw in his high school career. But, man, you look at him now, and he plays with a high motor and is going all the time. And, yeah, I mean, with his size, his athleticism, his skill, there's no reason he shouldn't be the best player in the country. And I think right now he's playing like the best player in the country.
You know, there's a lot of guys in this tournament who we don't talk about a lot because we're so into Maryland and the Big Ten and whatever, but DeAndre Ayton is one of them. You know, Jarius Lyles is another. That young man can play. To do what he did in that championship game was special. Now, they don't have much of a path because of who they have to play, but ups for Jarius Lyles for just an incredible shot.
Yeah, and he comes from a great high school program at DeMatha, and kind of took his lumps, going to the high major route, not getting the PT he wanted. But, yeah, I mean, he ended up having a great career. I covered him some in high school. He's a great kid. Happy to see him, hit that big shot and get them into the tournament. That's great for the state and great for a small school like UMBC as well. Without question.
And the kid who I was most impressed with last week, of somebody I didn't know that much of, I watched Virginia Tech play, and this Justin Robinson, he's unstoppable. I mean, they were putting 2-3 guys on him down the wire, and they could not stop him.
Yeah, he's a kid that Maryland recruited pretty hard down the stretch his senior year, and it kind of came down to Maryland and Virginia Tech. And I tell you, he's really improved throughout his college career, and that's one matchup that I potentially love in the second round is you got potentially either Jalen Brunson going up either against Colin Sexton or Justin Robinson, and that could be an awesome second-round matchup in the tournament coming up.
Of course, Jalen Brunson from Villanova, who certainly, to me, they're back in the hunt as Phil Booth returned. I don't think they could have won without Phil Booth. I really don't. But he's back, supposedly healthy. I think that Villanova is to be reckoned with. But I tell you what, Javon Carter from West Virginia, the odds are they're going to meet in the Sweet 16, or that would be the Final 8. Javon Carter is a special player. I mean, he's really the one who started to turn around Trae Young this year.
Yeah, I mean, he's just kind of one of those. He's kind of one of those typical Huggins players too. He's just he doesn't even necessarily look like an elite basketball player. He's a bruiser, he's a brawler, just kind of takes guys and just kind of beats them up in the lane and gets where he wants to get going. But I agree, that could be a great matchup, and it'd be interesting. Villanova's more of a finesse team. West Virginia's definitely more of a bruising team, so I agree that could be a great matchup as well.
Well, another guy from Houston who we never get to see, Corey Davis. I think he had over 100 trays this year. Think about that number, over 100. Probably the best shooter in the country. And the kid from Carolina just really, I thought, was unbelievable, Theo Pinson last week. There are so many great players to watch in these games, and that's probably why there will be more upsets than people are talking about. But I think it lends itself to be a great tournament. But how ironic would be if Arizona won it after all that went down? And they could. There's no doubt they could.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have the talent. And the big thing was just looking at, seeing whether or not they were going to have, their star guard, Alonzo Trier. And as of now, it looks like he's going to play. So, I mean, I think if Trier plays, I don't see any reason why, they don't have the talent to definitely make that run and make the final game.
Well, I can't go away from UVA. You go 17-1 in the ACC in this time. It's special. All right, it really is special. But who do you got in your Final Four? Let me ask you that much. We won't go through the whole thing.
All right. Well, it's tough for me to make these picks, and I always hit one or two games in every bracket that kind of gives me pause. That said, I'm going to go Villanova, Arizona, Michigan, who I think will eke out a Sweet 16 game over Carolina, and Michigan State.
Well, it's interesting. I have UVA. I still believe in them. And I have Michigan. And I got news for you. I would not be totally shocked if they turn out to be national champions. The way they played in the last month of the year, I don't think anybody's played any better. I have West Virginia and Duke on the other side with UVA and West Virginia playing for the title. And as I said, I picked Virginia. I'll have to stay with it, even though it's been tattered a little bit. But
and I'll just say too, for anyone out there who might be still doing their brackets, I went with Michigan State over Duke, but when I went back and looked at it, Duke is something like 7-1 against Izzo in the NCAA tournament. So I'm probably should have gone with Duke in that one.
I look at the talent, and the talent is with Duke. You never know. They had some bad games, and they didn't play that great in the ACC. But listen, when you've got Carter and Bagby, and it just doesn't stop. It doesn't stop.
Duval,
Trayvon Duval. It doesn't stop. It really doesn't stop with them. And this is when, you're playing twice a week. Even though the last two games are kind of jumbled, but you got 5 days off to prepare for the first game and whatever. Now, were you surprised that the NCAA screwed Carolina like they did by making them play not at the Dean Dome but going to Charlotte?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen anything so absurd in your life?
I mean, it seems to me like it happens every single year with Duke and Carolina. So.
But Carolina, they're not a number one seed. They're not, they're not the top of the, they're certainly in the top 8, but they're not the team, and they get to play 2 games at home. It's
but
almost
they're a huge draw in a huge arena, and that's really what it's about.
Oh man, it's Charlotte. What that one really got to me. So in essence, at the end, and I don't even want to talk about it. Were you surprised the Terps didn't make the NIT?
A little. Just the way they played the last couple games. I'll be honest. If I had been on one of those committees and been watching those games, I don't think I would have put them in. That said, when you go back and look at the whole resume and compare it to the other teams that were in the NIT, yeah, it was surprising to me. And even in just talking to some folks close to the program, I mean, they all seemed very confident that they were going to be in the NIT. So was I totally surprised? No, just because of the way they played the last couple of games. That said, when you look at the overall body of work, I thought it was good enough to be in the NIT.
Well, I think their RPI was 40. Well, the schedule went crazy at the end when you had Bucknell doing so well and
Right.
St. Bonaventure doing so well and Butler making the tournament. All of a sudden, the schedule at the end of the season and UMBC making the tournament, I mean, all of a sudden the schedule got really tough, but I think the fact you had all those upsets in the championship games did them in for the tournament. And not that it matters, believe me.
And I think, too, just their road record. I mean, the bottom line is they didn't beat anybody on the road this season.
Yeah, it was not a great year. I'm sure it's one you just want to, put a zipper on it and put it to sleep. And,
Yep.
I usually keep my box scores. I threw them all away, That was before the NIT. I said,
it was definitely
what?
one of those seasons.
I don't want to think about it. Real quick, we're right at time. Were you surprised at the loss to Albany by the Maryland lacrosse team?
I mean, I watched the game. They got out to that big lead, looked great. I'm personally, and I know it's just about every coach is going to say otherwise, I hate stall ball when you have a big lead. I understand why you do it. I know it works, a good percentage of the time. But when you're playing an offense as talented as Albany's, I feel like you just kind of got to keep doing what you did to get there and just know that they're going to chip away probably at the lead quicker than they might otherwise. But you got to hope that your offense can keep doing what they did earlier in the game as well. So personally, I didn't love the stall ball towards the end, but I thought they played well. Albany's a very talented team, and like last season, I feel confident that these teams are probably going to meet again.
I would think at least in the Final Four, maybe championship game. I think it's good that Tillman played them. You dominated them so bad for the first 3 quarters. I don't know if the word is stall ball. I just think it was a little lackluster. There seemed to be no juice on the bench, and this happens sometimes. Look. Tillman was upset after the game, obviously, because they lost the lead. Not that they lost. Them losing to Albany was not a major upset.
Right.
You had to say it was an absolute pick-em game. Maybe even Maryland a little favorite, but not much. But the fact that they lost the lead, he was pretty upset about that. And then I remind him, I said, Coach, you haven't lost a game in a year. All right, and you almost beat the MLL All-Stars, all right, in the game against the Team USA. So
right.
I mean, I don't think it's a room for worry. All right, although I tell you what, back to back, they got to go to play Villanova this week. One of the toughest teams to beat at home, and Villanova took down the championship team last year. So,
yep.
Look, we talked about it before the season. In these 4 games that they played, I didn't see any shot of them coming out 4-0. And, playing Notre Dame and then Albany and then going to Villanova and then playing Carolina. And I think I was right, but I was 8-3. Maryland, they got to 10 first. You know what their record is when they get to 10 first. I mean, it's almost unblemished. But they lost. It's just a game. Hey, Scott, thanks for coming on. And as always, we'll see whose Final Four is better. All right? All right. Take care, buddy.
All right. Thanks, Bruce.
All right. This is Bruce Posner. We'll be back in a few minutes here with Dennis Kalatzis. We're going to talk all things Ravens, and there is so much happening, along with a rumor issued by the NFL Network. I will give you the rumor when we get back. It's time for me to talk about Dr. Jeffrey Gaber and Gaber & Associates. The practice specializes in internal medicine and orthopedics. Gaber & Associates have 2 great locations in Baltimore City next to Mercy Hospital and in Pikesville. Gaber & Associates now has the nasal swab test for quick diagnosis of influenza A and B, as well as the strep throat swab test. Remember, it's not too late to get the flu shot. Other available vaccines are for tetanus, shingles, pneumonia, and HPV. Check out the website at www.drgaber.com. The firm also includes Dr. Jonathan Gitter and PAs Dennis Myers and Leon Britton, as well as orthopedist Dr. Doug Shepard. Remember, call Gaber & Associates at 410-653-8840 for the Pikesville office and 410-986-4400 for the Baltimore City office. Kelly Exchange is your one-stop shop for individual and family health insurance coverage. On kellyexchange.com, you can learn about healthcare reform, find out if you qualify for a subsidy, get quotes, compare insurance plans, and purchase coverage. With over 36 years of experience in the insurance industry, kellyexchange.com is the only website you need to help you navigate the complexities and confusion of healthcare reform and purchase quality insurance for you and your family. Visit kellyexchange.com today.
My name is Mark Apple, and I'm a consumer bankruptcy attorney with Wallman, Grossfeld, Apple, and Bear. If you're afraid of losing your home, you're afraid of wages being garnished, call me, 410-437-7711, extension 4, and you'll get to my desk. We have offices located all around the Baltimore Beltway. Call me, Mark Apple, 410-437-7711, extension 4.
There's no better place in Baltimore to buy your new or used car from than Koons Ford on Security Boulevard, across from Security Mall. Over the years, I have purchased many cars and trucks for GM Dennis Kalatzis, receiving the best price, service, and comfort in dealing with a top-notch executive. Koons Ford TerpTalk listeners can view their inventory at KoonsFordBaltimore.com. Koons Ford carries a huge inventory of Motor Trend's Car of the Year, the Fusion, Hybrid Escapes, the 35-mile-per-gallon Focus, Mustangs, Expeditions, and of course the F-Series trucks. Koons Ford simply likes to make a little bit of money many times. What a great place to buy your new Ford. That's Koons Ford of Baltimore, 6970 Security Boulevard, across from Security Square Mall. Take exit 17 off of 695. Remember, when you're talking cars, you're talking Koons.
Call 410-298-3800.
Isn't it time for your family to have the services of a financial planner? Call Rob Weissman, a certified financial consultant. Rob has provided financial planning, investments, and insurance products to the Baltimore community for over 28 years. Rob will provide a free consultation, review your financial positions, and make recommendations. He will monitor your financial plan on an ongoing basis. Call Rob Weissman, 410-868-6260. Rob Weissman is a registered representative of Parkland Securities Company, member FINRA SIPC. Baltimore, listen up. If you want crabs, you have to head to the Costas Inn on North Point Boulevard. There is no comparison in all of Maryland for the greatest crabs and crab cakes ever. Costas also serves unbelievable steamed shrimp, Greek salads, and steaks for lunch and dinner. Nick, Pete, and Costas Triantopoulos run the perfect restaurant to go with family and friends. Give Costas in a call at 410-477-1975 and tell them the TerpTalk guy sent you. At Baltimore Neurosurgery and Spine Center, the professionals provide the highest quality care to the patients. My friends over at Baltimore Neurosurgery and Spine Center are fellowship-trained, board-certified neurosurgeons and interventional pain specialists that specialize in treating all spinal and intracranial disorders with more than 20 years of combined experience. The practice is founded by Dr. Ira Goranczyk and his partner is Jim Conway. These two doctors are perennial Baltimore's top doctors. Not only do they perform complex inpatient procedures, but they also specialize in minimally invasive outpatient surgeries. If you're having problems with your neck or back, call my good friends Dr. Ira Goranczyk and Dr. James Conway at Baltimore Neurosurgery and Spine Center, 410-664-3680. Once again, that's Baltimore's best neurosurgeons at 410-664-3680.
Welcome back to Koons Ford Terp Talk. Call 410-481-1300 now. Once again, here's Bruce Posner.
All right, lots of stuff happening on the Ravens front right now, and to bring in my good friend, expert, and the man over at Koons Ford, Dennis Kalatzis. Dennis, the NFL Network today, all right, Daniel Jeremiah, pretty respected guy, said the Ravens will draft Baker Mayfield if he's available at 16.
I don't think it's going to happen, Bruce. Number one, I don't think he gets past number 6. He'll be one of the top 6 players taken in the NFL draft. And the second thing, it doesn't make business sense for the Ravens to draft him. Why would you have him sit for 2 years behind Joe Flacco when the rookie quarterback contracts, I mean, you get a guy like a Carson Wentz for free basically for his first 4 or 5 years of the contract. So why would you waste 2 years of a quarterback's contract? So it doesn't make any sense. They owe Joe Flacco $50 million over the next 2 years. They can cut him after 3 years. It'll still cost them $8 million against the cap. But it just doesn't make any business sense, Bruce, to take Mayfield 16, or any quarterback for that matter.
Yeah, but don't you think it's time to give Joe a little competition?
Yeah, but you know what? So the kid comes in and he plays well. You're going to bench Joe Flacco. You're going to sit down a $25 million a year quarterback. And the other part of it, no one's going to trade for Joe Flacco. He hasn't played anywhere near to his contract, Bruce, so I can't see anybody trading for him. So to me, it'd be a bit of a quandary. I think the business thing to do is to draft the best player available at number 16. Hopefully the team makes the playoffs. If not, I don't see Coach Harbaugh coming back. Then you have Eric Acosta picking his head coach. And, of course, then they pick their quarterback of the future next year. That way he sits behind Joe Flacco for one season, learns the ropes, and then in year 2, after he redshirts, basically his freshman year, then you give him the key for the car.
All right, were you surprised to see Danny Woodhead get released today?
Not really, Bruce. It's been rumored he's going to get released along with Jeremy Maclin. They have to clear up some cap space. They've signed some receivers, John Brown from Arizona for a $5 million a year contract. They got Ryan Clark from Washington, committed $29 million to him. So they've had to free up some cap space somewhere. Danny Woodhead, over the hill, so to speak, off injured. Jerry Maclin, another guy, didn't play up to his contract. So it was time to get younger and move from these contracts to these veterans.
All right, Dennis, guys like you and me, we always say what we feel, and you put your opinion on the line. I was looking for your comment a couple weeks ago. No way the Ravens re-signed James Hurst, you said. They gave him 4 years, $17 million. That's starter's money, is it not?
Well, it's either starter's money or a high caliber backup. But then they like him. They like his versatility. It insulates him against injuries. Again, Greg Roman must really like what they have in him. It looks like they're going to lose Ryan Jensen to free agency. Hopefully, Matt Skura can step up and play center. But this is going to be real interesting what to do with the offensive line going forward. Look, I don't know if they're going to draft a lineman high or get a free agent. They're running out of money. It's going to be real interesting to see what they do. But it did surprise me that they would bring back James Hurst to that kind of a contract.
Yeah, I mean, you're not the only one. I think everybody was a little surprised. But then again, number one, he's supposed to be a tremendous clubhouse presence. You saw the tweets that came out the second the announcement of the re-signing. just throughout the team, from guy to guy, they were so happy that he stayed. You don't see that a lot, really. And then you look at the fact that, whatever they've asked him to do, he's done. Maybe not at the best caliber, but maybe they see, the improvement over the years. But we were both flabbergasted on that. Let's look at the wide receiver situation. You hear rumors about DJ Moore maybe in that first round. Couple names that came up to me today are Michael Gallup from Colorado State and DJ Chark from LSU as wide receivers. You have a take on those guys?
Yeah, Gallup is a very, very good, productive wide receiver. I believe 179 catches, top of my head, the last 2 seasons. He runs angry, Bruce. When he catches the ball, he looks to run somebody over. So he would fit the Ravens' mindset very, give him that edge that they need at wide receiver. And Chark, he was a combine phenom. He was a wide receiver who didn't play with a good quarterback at LSU. And really shined at the combine. His numbers were to the roof. He was projected as a 3rd to 4th round draft pick prior to the combine. Now, I think the first round's too rich for him, but someplace in the 2nd round, I think there is a spot for DJ Chark with a better quarterback. I mean, he does have all the measurables. He would look good in a Ravens uniform in round 2, but not round 1. But Gallup, look, if it depends on how they value him in the draft for it. Is he worthy at number 16? They don't have a number 1 wide receiver on the roster right now. Ryan Clark was the 3rd best receiver for the Redskins last year. Maybe he'll be a good number 2 for the Ravens playing in the slot, but they still need that number 1 guy, and I think either Chark or Gallup or DJ Moore for short can fit that bill.
Is DJ Moore a number 1 receiver?
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't bat an eye if they took him at 16 in the first round, Bruce. He may be the first receiver coming off the board. Mel Kiper Jr. was right many weeks ago when he said that DJ Moore was the best receiver in the draft. He's definitely in that conversation. The Ravens can do a lot worse than taking somebody other than DJ Moore, number 16.
Well, all the talk about no free agents being signed, it all ended today. I mean, it was like or tomorrow, I think. But the deals are made. 3 years, $84 million to Mr. Kirk Cousins at Minnesota. Is that where you figured he'd wind up?
Yeah, he raised the bar for all the quarterbacks. I'm sure guys like Wilson from Seattle and also Rodgers from Green Bay, they're very thankful to Mr. Cousins and his agent. Figured it was going to be close to $30 million a year, and it came a little bit under that. But for a player of his caliber, I think it was a good signing for him and for the team from Minnesota. It gives them a chance to really be competitive. But you know what? It's going to be a fascinating draft. I think you'll see a lot of trades, Bruce. A lot of teams still need quarterbacks.
Torrey Smith goes to the Panthers. And then I hear it was a monetary deal where he might not even wind up on the Panthers. Could that be the case?
I haven't seen that. I heard he was getting $5 million per year. He wanted to come to Baltimore, and I thought they had a deal in place. That's what my sources told me, but the Panthers just gave him a lot more money to go there. So I haven't heard anything contrary to that, but certainly a story to keep an eye on. Yeah,
it's so much rumor going around about everything, but no, I think the Torrey Smith to the Ravens, that ship has sailed forever. All right.
Yeah.
You know, as he gets older and whatever. Dennis, might not be Ravens might not be number one in the NFL right now, but Koons Ford's number one in the state of Maryland. Tell us what's going on right now. I know you got cars, just unbelievable amount of cars in stock.
Yep, business is very good. It's very competitive, which is great for the consumer, Bruce. Ford has extended their savings from President's Day. We still have 0% for 72 months, plus $1,000 at least on every hood and every car. We have the biggest inventory on the East Coast. Certified factory technicians. We have millions of dollars invested in equipment to take care of our customers' vehicles. Top-notch body shops. So we're very, very busy thanks to great programs like yours, and we get a lot of repeat and referral customers. They keep coming back, and look, we try to do our best to make everybody happy.
Dennis, I'm starting to get the fever a little bit. All right.
There you go.
All right, I've had that car for almost 2 years now, and it's starting to get the fever. I'll have to call you later. We'll find something that meets my need, right?
That's about your sweet spot. You know, you like leasing. I think leasing is a great deal, especially when we have high incentives, and we certainly have vehicles to fit that bill.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And again, tell everybody where you are tomorrow, and I'm sure you'll be talking tournament and talking Ravens.
Absolutely. We're off the dial from Bruce. You're always a special guest at 4:30. I encourage everyone to tune in. 410-298-3800 is our company number. My cell number is 410-218-0337. Just Google my name, Dennis Colazzos, and you'll see all that's associated with it. Hopefully it's all good stuff.
All right, Dennis, thanks a lot thanks for coming on. Thanks for coming on, and I'll be with you tomorrow talking some hoops and some Ravens.
You got it, Bruce. Go Ravens, go Terps.
All right, this is Bruce Posner. You're listening to Koons Ford presents Terp Talk. We'll be back in a few minutes here on CBS Sports Radio 1300. Cunningham's of the Bag Beast chain has been declared as one of the best restaurants in town. Located at One Olympic Place in Towson, Cunningham's has free valet parking and is open every night. The decor and atmosphere at Cunningham's makes you feel that you are part of a happening event. Using a wood-fired grill and oven, Cunningham's provides its guests with dishes created from the freshest seasonal and local ingredients possible. Call 410-339-7730 for a reservation. Bruce Posner here with a message brought to you by Chesapeake Urology. Guys, if you broke your right arm, would you just say, heck, I'll live with it, and make do with the left? Of course not. So why is it so many men with erectile dysfunction throw up their hands, assume it's just a part of getting older, and choose to live with it? The experts at Chesapeake Urology have treatments that can help virtually all men resume a normal sex life. Whether you're 48, 64, or 84, their doctors specialize in ED, and most treatments are covered by insurance. Even if you've tried pills without success, the specialists at Chesapeake Urology can show you better treatments. Don't live with something you don't have to. Call Chesapeake Urology at 877-422-8237. That's 877-422-8237. Superior Tours continues to serve the Baltimore area with superior price trips to New York, Atlantic City, or wherever your group wants to go. The Koons brothers have only state-of-the-art motor coaches for your riding pleasure. Superior provides same-day service to New York for only $68 round trip or $48 for one-way trips. Atlantic City trips are $38 same-day round trips with great hotel rebates. Call 410-602-1704 and make a reservation with Superior Tours. Has been serving up the best delicatessen in Baltimore on 1019 East Lombard Street. Atman's is open 7 days a week with an incredible menu, including all your delights. Call Elaine for all your catering needs at 410-563-2666. Remember, Atman's is open every Ravens game in the stadium at Section 118. Nothing is better for me than a pastrami sandwich at Atman's Deli. It's my pleasure to welcome the Supreme Neighborhood Market Gourmet again to the TerpTalk family. Now under the new ownership of Andy Huffman, Gourmet Again on 3717 Old Court Road continues its tradition of being a specialty food market with all meals, soups, and sandwiches being homemade. My family and all of Northwest Baltimore knows that Gourmet Again is the best market around. Let Gourmet Again cater any party or special occasion that you are having. I absolutely love Gourmet Again. Call 410-484-9393. Gourmet Again is open 7 days a week. Visit them on the web at gourmetagain.com. The phone number, once again, 410-484-9393. That's Gourmet Again. Situated at One Olympic Place in Towson, Cunningham's Cafe and Bakery offers handcrafted breakfast, lunch, and coffee in a casual setting. Featuring house-baked breads and pastries, roasted coffees, and locally sourced eggs and produce from Cunningham Farms, the Cafe and Bakery is the perfect spot for a quick meal or snack. Parking is free across the street. Open 7 days a week. Call Cunningham's Bakery and Cafe, 410-339-7750. Trust, honesty, integrity. That's the motto of Offit & Roth, PA, certified public accountants and business consultants. Clients of Offit & Roth get personalized quality service that is beyond comparison. Check out their extensive list of services at www.offitroth.com. co-founder Alan Roth and his son Michael, a Maryland graduate, have extensive experience working with clients in virtually every industry. Call Offit and Roth at 410-356-6600.
Saturday from noon to 2, join 105.7 The Fan's Rob Long with Proximo Spirits at Michael's Cafe in Timonium for their St. Patrick's Day party. Try Sexton, the new Irish whiskey from Proximo Spirits.
This is Koons Ford Terp Talk. Call 410-481-1300 now. Once again, here's Bruce Posner.
All right. On the phone right now is my good buddy, my co-host of the other night at the Sports Boosters and frequent co-host here on Terp Talk. And that, of course, is Wayne Viener. Wayne, how are you tonight?
I'm doing okay, Bruce. We are getting to watch a former Maryland recruit hit the court here in Dayton as Trayvon Reed, a one-time Trojan recruit, ended up going to Alabama, washed out there. He's on the court for Texas, 15-19, Texas Southern this evening.
Wow, but they won the tournament. That's what matters. Hey, real quick, we had a great time the other night with the Sports Boosters, and I encourage everybody. I go to different events during the year. Support them. They do a great cause for the youth of Baltimore, for sports equipment, and it's just a super program. And what about the performance of Jeff Baxter? Was he fantastic?
Jeff was, yes, fantastic's a good word for it. He was our featured speaker at Cunningham's, and anybody who's listened through the break heard that Cunningham's ad. I had a cheeseburger that was out of this world. Just even the simple food there is fantastic.
Yeah, great place, and their cafe also is a great place. And hey, we only have the best food sponsors around because of my selective taste. All right.
Well, you do know restaurants. I'll give you that much.
Tarks and Atman's. What's better than Atman's? Nothing when it comes to deli. Hey, so here was the result of the vote. You don't even know this yet, all right? This is breaking news. I asked everybody there, and this is just an arbitrary poll, and there was about 50 people there, Wayne, 45, 50 people, to give me their top 5 Terps of all time. And here were the top 5 guys, but I have to tell you, the next 5 were very, very close. The clear leader was Lenny Bias, and I think that was almost every vote included Len Bias. Juan Dixon was right up there with him, just because I'm sure of the success that he had. I had him in my list. I don't know if you had him in yours, Wayne. John Lucas, maybe the best guard ever to play at Maryland, and certainly belonged there. Joe Smith, all right, 2 years. I tended my picks to be a little bit longer. And the 5th guy, not too much surprise, was Albert King. All right, the next 5 are interesting because you really could have mixed in those 5 in this. There's not one guy I'm going to mention who you might not make a case for. Walt Williams. I mean, Walt Williams really made that key point of the turnover of the program and keeping it running. And then Buck Williams from North Carolina, and he was just probably the best rebounder Maryland ever had.
So I had both of those on my first team.
There you go. I'm telling you, Wayne,
North Carolina.
Wayne, it was so close. It was unbelievable. It was like, in fact, I was almost going to be ordered a recount, but since it doesn't mean much what we say here.
Did Brad Davis make it?
No, Brad Davis got 1 vote, all right? I don't know how he doesn't fit the top. But he was great, all right? Gravis Vasquez, for his tremendous achievements in Maryland, was also in that second tier of 5 players. And then, of course, Lenny Elmore and Tom McMillan made it. So those are your top 10 players. I think that would have been a better way to put it than the top 5 because it's almost impossible. But that was a lot of fun. And also, Wayne, tell everybody we had a Sports Boosters bracket contest that I've got all the results to as it comes along. You started another one today. Would you have requests for it?
Well, we did the traditional online. It's with ESPN, and the Young Terps took care of that. Jordan and Mason put the bracket challenge up on TerpTalk.com, and we are going to leave that near the top of the list. So if you get a chance to go to the website, and you can certainly join in that bracket challenge. Now, there's two things I have to bring up. I'd be remiss if I did not.
Go ahead.
First of all, Bruce Posner got one heck of an ovation when I mentioned that he was the Mid-Atlantic PGA Media Announcer of the Year, and I'm really looking forward to spending Saturday night with Bruce and the gang at a country club outside of Washington, where he's going to get all dressed up and go up there and accept this award, and we're going to have video.
Hey, nobody's going to know who I am, Wayne.
Probably not. You should wear a tuxedo with a Maryland T-shirt instead of a dress shirt.
That would do it.
So that'll be on Terp Talk. And then one of Bruce's, and at this point even my long-term goals of having a lacrosse website that covers more than just Maryland. Not that there's anything wrong with Maryland. And if anybody needs one more reason to go to Terp Talk, you will see a few in the crease branded videos that Bruce went out. That is right. Bruce Posner picked up a video camera and went out and interviewed people, and that's enough of a miracle.
Hey,
right there.
Hey, of course we were at the Hopkins game yesterday. We got Coach Petramala as Hopkins makes a charge back to the top 10. And again, this new website will be equal emphasis. It will not be Maryland. We have Terp Talk for that. And certainly we cover Maryland to the nth degree, and we will and always will. But there's a need for the other teams in Baltimore, Towson and Loyola, and right down the line, of course, Johns Hopkins, St. Mary's. They're not in Baltimore, but they're in Maryland. And
you have to mention Todd's Retrievers.
And
you got to throw them
my good buddy Ryan Moran, whose team got it handed to him last night at UMBC. They played great early on, but then Hopkins just really turned it on. And some of the D3 schools will emphasize Stevenson. We'll even have some women's lacrosse. We'll also do the Bayhawks. It's going to be strictly lacrosse and not just Maryland lacrosse. In fact, Maryland will still be featured on Terp Talk, but this will be across the board because we got a lot to write about there. Thanks for bringing that up, Wayne.
So that website will actually fully debut as part of our Red Turtle business plan for next season. I mean, you're going to see bits and pieces of it this year as we ramp up, because a website without content's not worth much. So bear with us as we build the content base for In the Crease Lax. And if any of you are younger or have children in your family that love lacrosse and know how to use a video camera and go to one of the local schools, even a boys Latin, Cardinal Gibbons, something like that, we would love to get some interns who want to cover this as well. So, and they'd have a lot. They
certainly would have a lot of fun doing it. But that's up to the individuals. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And we're going to really span the state for all things lacrosse. And of course, Todd will be with us, and Mason and Jordan and Wayne and myself. So we've got some coverage right there. And
we do.
And now that we have a new semi-cameraman and myself, it's just expanded a little bit.
Just a little bit.
All right,
so
Wayne,
tomorrow,
go ahead.
Football.
I'm going to try, believe it or not, Wayne, I'm going to try and make that tomorrow, okay? I heard it's going to be inside, which is enough for me to go, and because it's been pretty cold to stand outside. Mm-hmm. The practice will be inside, correct?
That is correct. First, there's a couple players, and they will be in Maryland Stadium in the press room upstairs, and then we get to go across the street and see Coach Durkin. So you're going to get input from Bruce tomorrow. Jordan, who is part of the Young Terps podcast gang, will be out there. Neither Mason nor I can make it because we thought it was at 3:45 like it was last week. This week it's at 1:45. So make sure you get out there early.
Okay, Wayne, I got Todd waiting to preview the women's tournament. I want to get him on now. Thanks as always for coming on, and we didn't even talk about the loss to Albany because we've already put that behind us. Correct?
That is gone to the rearview mirror on the Villanova. We'll talk to you soon. We'll see you on Terp Talk tomorrow.
All right, thank you, my friend. All right, out to the phones right now, and my good buddy Todd Carton. Todd, The women are down at, is it Raleigh or where's NC State? Raleigh?
They are in Raleigh at NC State. That's correct, Bruce.
And the first game is Friday at high noon against Princeton. Have they played Princeton this year?
Not this year, no. The last time they played Princeton was in the NCAA Tournament a couple of years ago. They played them in College Park. Maryland was a one seed that year. Princeton came in as a highly underseeded 8 seed. They were undefeated. It was a fabulous first half. I think Maryland wore them down a little bit and wound up winning by 12 or 15 points, pulling away in the second round before they moved on. Maryland eventually went to the Final Four.
Yeah, well, for anybody who thinks, Princeton's a lot, listen, against the way this Maryland team has been playing as of late, they are not locks against anyone. Would you agree to that?
I would absolutely agree to that. On a strictly a talent basis, Maryland should win this game. But I talked to some people. Maryland should have beaten Purdue at home, and that was probably one of the 2 factors that kept them out of the NCAA tournament was that loss. So you got to throw the ball up and play the game. Hopefully, Maryland has now a week and a half of rest since the Big Ten tournament ended, and they'll be a little fresher. I think that the season took a toll on Maryland, the short bench, and people playing a lot of extended minutes. I think that took a toll on them toward the end of the year, and hopefully the Terps will be ready. But this should be a pretty competitive game.
Well, Todd, let me ask you a question, all right? What's the story with this Christianaki girl? From what I've seen her play, she brings a lot of life to the team. Good ball handler, makes a few too many turnovers, but that's certainly been evidence of the way Maryland's played over the years to have a lot of turnovers because they're always running the ball. Why is she not in that game down the wire?
It's a reasonable question, Bruce, and I have no idea. I think that I'm guessing that a lot of that had to do with Brenda maybe just feeling that Small was having a hot game, and she wanted to keep her in. And if somebody comes out, it's probably going to be Small for Christianaki because they're basically the same position, either her or Kyla Charles. And Christianaki does take a lot of shots. She doesn't see very many shots that she doesn't want to take. But I thought she was pretty much under control in the last 2 games in the Big Ten tournament in particular. And she does. She's the one that is a little aggressive and brings something to the table that a lot of players don't.
Well, I'll give her credit. I've never seen her sulk. I've been following the last few games fairly closely, and she wasn't in any of that game in the fourth quarter in the Nebraska game. Todd, I want to mention one thing. I don't know if you'll be there on Saturday, but for all my friends out there with daughters who play lacrosse and granddaughters that play lacrosse, if you want to see the greatest show on earth, the University of Maryland lacrosse team will be at Johns Hopkins on Saturday. And I will tell you, I felt the fervor of Johns Hopkins building for this game when I was there last night for the UMBC game. They are really, really looking to give Maryland their best shot. And Hopkins gave them some trouble. Was it 19-16 in the Big Ten tournament last year?
That might be right, Bruce. I know that Maryland has struggled against Hopkins a number of times in the last couple of years, and it's been a tough matchup for them. Hopkins, like everybody, gets really up to play Maryland because Maryland's the target. They are the cream of the crop,
Tremendous coach in Janine Tucker and her assistant, Steele Stanwyck. What else do we have to say? A former Tewaaraton winner, and they certainly had a good year last year. They were robbed of a big game against Northwestern that kind of forced them to play Maryland early on, which is almost like a curse in a tournament. But that's the way it goes. But this will be at Hopkins. It'll be a different kind of game. 12 o'clock. So you only miss maybe the first half of one of the basketball games. Todd will be there. I think he'll be there. I will be there. Should be a great game. Todd, thanks a lot for coming on. And
Bruce, real fast, can I just say thank you for inviting me to the Sports Boosters dinner?
Did we have a lot of fun or what? Did we have a lot of fun? It was great.
Before we sign off, I wanted to thank you on the air because I really appreciate the opportunity.
All right, Todd, are we going to make it to the Sweet 16, yes or no?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say yes.
All right, that's it. We're out of time. See you Saturday on the Sports Maven.